and welcome to our very first episode of Real Talk, where we bring you real conversations and real impact. My name is Arshia, and in this debut episode, we will confront an often urgent and overlooked issue: the bullying of students with intellectual disabilities. Through personal stories and meaningful insights, we will shed some light on the experiences of students facing discrimination in schools while exploring what we can do to fight against it. But first, a little more info about the people behind this podcast. So, Real Talk is powered by the Youth Advisory Committee, also known as the YAC, a group leading the Reaction for Inclusion movement that aims to empower young people to take both individual and collective action to create more inclusive schools and communities. As members of the YAC ourselves, we seek to shift the Canadian narrative around disability and welcome youth with intellectual disabilities as leaders and stakeholders. Through conversations like the ones you'll hear on this podcast, we aim to reimagine what it means to belong and to build spaces where all youth can thrive. So, now that you've gotten our introductions out of the way, let's dive into our topic for this week: bullying in schools. Joining us today is Vignesh, and he'll be sharing his own experiences with bullying.
Thank you, Arshia. As you said, my name is Vignesh. I'm currently a college student. I'm also a first year member of the YAC, and I'm very excited to join you today for this podcast.
Thank you so much, Vignesh, for coming today. So, before we dive further into our discussion for today, I just want to give a brief overview about what bullying actually is and what it can look like. So, bullying is when people repeatedly and intentionally use words or actions to harm someone or a group emotionally or physically. And I want to emphasize that emotionally or physically. For students with intellectual disabilities, this can include name calling, using slurs, excluding them from things, or even making rude gestures. And sadly, for students with intellectual disabilities, they often face this kind of treatment way more often than peers who don't have the disabilities. Studies show that as many as 8 out of 10, yes, 8 out of 10, that's way more than 50% of students with a learning disability are bullied because of having it. And that's an alarming number that needs to be addressed now. So, Ignesh, my first question for you is, why do you think this happens so often to students with intellectual disabilities?
I think it's because people see them as different. The way I see it, it is kind of like they speak a different language. People do not understand them, so instead of trying to, they start to hate how different they are and they pick on them. That could turn to making fun of how they talk, act, or think. I have personally seen how hard students can be. I see people mock them, spread rumors, and treat them like they're less than everyone else. And yeah,
Mhm.
that kind of behavior really does hurt and has a lasting impact.
Yeah, no, and that's the sad reality about bullying, and that's why it needs to stop now. And that's why we're making this podcast to spread awareness. And speaking of impact, like you said, Vignesh, what do you think bullying does to someone's mental health? And if you don't mind me asking, from your own experiences, how did it affect you?
Honestly, it made me really sad and frustrated. I have been bullied throughout high school and even college. It feels like I'm stuck in this never-ending cycle. It had a deep impact on me, especially with trusting people. After being hurt so many times, it was hard to know who has good intentions. I started to isolate myself from other people to prevent myself not to get hurt again or be used again. It affected my mood a lot. Sometimes it was hard to focus in school or even
Mm-hmm.
interact with other people because of these issues happening to me each day.
Yeah. So, I can actually relate to you, Vignesh. Although my story is different, I can relate to you. So, I remember when I first moved to Canada, in 2019, I was in grade four, and I remember on the first day of school, and even after that, I remember being bullied because of my accent and, the way I dressed, the way I looked, and, it was really sad because it was my first day of school, and I wanted to make friends, I wanted to get to know the country more, but being bullied because of my accent was really sad. But I do remember teachers sticking up for me, and that really empowered me to, like move forward.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Aisha.
Yeah, and I also have a question for you, Vignesh. Was there a difference in the bullying you experienced, like in high school or elementary, compared to now that you're in college, right? And what I mean for that is that do you think people changed and like improved, they matured over time? Or no, it's like the bullying's to the same degree?
Personally, I think there's more intense bullying and more extreme bullying in high school and elementary school because they're not as matured. But there's still cases of bullying in college too. I don't think students are mature yet in their first year of college, and I believe they're very similar to the person that they were from high school and elementary school. But in the years that follow, they started taking it more seriously.
No, I totally agree with you, and that people should definitely take more things seriously. I mean, they're in college, but it's so crazy how you said that people, like, bullying still continues in college when people are, like, they're supposedly mature, right? But yeah, what about others, Vignesh? Have you ever seen someone else or a friend being bullied?
Yeah, I have, and this is personal experience. A few of my friends went through the similar experience. I remember two of them getting picked on how far they spoke. The bullies would imitate their voices, and it was awful. It hurt me too because these people I care about in my life. Seeing your friends getting hurt is heartbreaking.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you. And as Vignesh shared, bullying has serious and lasting effects. Compared to students who aren't bullied, those who are often experience things like depression, anxiety, sadness, isolation, trouble sleeping or eating, and even losing interest in things they used to enjoy a lot. And as you said, all this can really, really harm a person's mental health.
That is completely true. Are you?
Yeah, and I feel like that's why it's really important to have safeguards in place to reduce and prevent bullying in schools. And there are some things in place already, fortunately. There's an event called Pink Shirt Day. Have you ever heard of it?
No. Can you explain to me what Pink Shirt Day is, Aisha?
Yeah, of course. So Pink Shirt Day is an event that takes place in many schools, workplaces, and colleges and universities. And basically, it's a day, one day in the year, when people wear pink to raise awareness against bullying. And although I definitely think it's amazing that we have something like this in place, I'm a bit doubtful, and like this question always arises in my mind. Is it enough to raise like awareness against bullying? Like wearing pink one day of the year, one day out of the 365 days we have, is that enough to like completely stop bullying? Because honestly, bullying has been going on for so long. And that's why I want to ask you, do you think this is enough? Or should schools be doing more, like teaching classes for like anti-bullying and stuff?
I definitely think schools should be doing more. Students need to learn how to stand up, not just for themselves, but for others too. It is a lesson we all need as we grow up. We have to learn how to look at past differences, appreciate each other, and be more empathetic. That is how we create an inclusive place where everyone can thrive. To add to that, anti-bullying should not just be something we talk about in a workshop or class. It needs to be something we think about every day. We should be asking ourselves, how can I actually apply this in real life? But I get that it's not always easy to know what steps to take.
No, those are some really great tips. And I really liked how you said that just like having a workshop or like a day about it isn't enough. We need to take real action. That was really great. And thinking about that, it makes me think about an event like events that we have in our school hosted by the DE department. So that's the Developmental Education Department. And in my school, well, it's like an event across our school board. It's called the Special Olympics, and it's where like students from the DE department from schools across the school board come across, and it's like this major sports day. And I think it's really great, and we should definitely have more events like that in place.
That is awesome, amazing, and cool.
Yeah, for sure. So another question for you. What do you think someone should do if they see someone getting bullied?
Be cautious. Make sure it is safe to step in. If there's a risk, like if the bullies have something dangerous, do
Hmm.
not jump in. Instead, tell a teacher or a trusted adult right away. If it is safe, check in with the person afterwards to let them know you have got their back. Just knowing someone cares can make a huge difference.
That was some amazing advice, Vignesh, and I'm sure it's gonna help a lot of people out there. And this question ties back to before our conversations from before, but do you have any other advice for what students can do in their schools or communities to help stop bullying?
I have advice for students that can help that can help prevent bullying from coming towards their communities, schools, and high schools.
Hmm.
There's many things students can do. You can organize assemblies, especially for students transitioning from elementary to high school, to help them understand how seriously bullying is.
Hmm.
Schools can also create strong policies that clearly shows bullying will not be tolerated and work with school staff to make sure that those rules are actually followed. Another idea is to hold a workshop that raises awareness and get students talking about bullying. If we all work together, real change is possible.
Yes, for sure. And that was some great tips and advice. I was taking some notes myself because I'm a high school student too. And yeah, so unfortunately we are coming towards the end of the episode. And so to wrap it up, do you have any final messages for students who are experiencing bullying right now or those who experienced it before?
I have a final message to give to all students who are experiencing bullying in high school and elementary school. And this is my personal experience. Yeah, I remember telling a friend who was being bullied to talk to a professor about it. They did, and the professor stood up for them. Later, they told me how thankful they were that someone encouraged them to speak up. My point is, it doesn't hurt to speak up for yourself or for someone else. Do not just stand by and watch. Take action. Even if you're not comfortable stepping in, at least check in with the person to show them they're not alone. Support means everything. We need to stand together because how else are we going to create change?
Yeah.
Personally, I got through my darkest moments because my friends, teachers, mentors helped me. They taught me how to be strong and stand up for myself. And one last thing, you're gonna meet all kinds of people in life. Some will be good, some not so good. And it could hurt you. But just remember, people will come and go. That is the way of life. You must be able to accept that and be able to move on.
Wow, those were some really great words. Like, honestly, all of that. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your story with us. And also, thank you to our listeners who took the time to listen to our stories. And don't forget, we'll be back very soon with our next episode. So, see you then. Bye.